Hello, so welcome to the class. Today we'll be studying the lymphatic system with clinical cases. I have two clinical cases. One is filariasis, which is lymphatic filariasis, and also a snake bite. So let's start with what is lymphatic system, and then we'll go for the clinical cases. Alright, so let's start. The lymphatic system or the lymphoid system is an organ system in vertebrates that is part of the immune system and complementary to the circulatory system, but there is a difference. Circulatory system is a closed system, whereas lymphatic system is an open system, right? It consists of a large network of lymphatic vessels, lymph nodes, lymphoid organs, lymphatic tissue, and lymph. Okay, and we'll learn about it, throughout the lecture. Okay, lymph is a clear fluid carried by lymphatic vessels to the heart for recirculation. It is responsible. What is the function of lymphatic system? It is responsible for the removal of interstitial fluid from tissues. It absorbs and transports fatty acids and fats as chyle from the digestive system. It transports white blood cells to and from lymph nodes into the bones. The lymph transports antigen-presenting cells such as dendritic cells to lymph nodes where an immune response is stimulated. The lymphatic drainage of various organs is important in diagnosis of prognosis and treatment of cancer. Yes, so it's very important for diagnosis. Study of lymphatic drainage of various organs helps in diagnosing cancer, tumors, cancerous cells. Is it benign? Is it malignant, etc.? The lymphatic system, because of its closeness to many tissues of the body, is responsible for carrying cancerous cells between various parts of the body in a process called metastasis, right? The intervening lymph nodes can trap the cancer cells, right? If they are not successful in destroying the cancer cells, the nodes may become sites of secondary tumors. So they're not only helping, but they can also be hosting if they're not successful. So they're like two-sided swords. Okay, so lymphatic tissues begin to develop by the end of the 5th week of embryonic development, right? So end of the 5th week, lymphatic tissue starts developing. Lymphatic vessels develop from lymph sacs that arise from developing veins, which are derived from mesoderm. The first lymph sacs to appear are the paired jugular lymph sacs at the junction of internal jugular and subclavian veins. From the jugular lymph sacs, lymphatic capillary plexuses spread to the thorax, the upper limbs, neck, and head. Some of the plexuses enlarge and form lymphatic vessels in the respective regions. Each jugular lymph sac returns at least one connection with its jugular vein, the left one developing into the superior portion of the thoracic duct. The spleen develops from mesenchymal cells between layers of dorsal mesentery of the stomach. The thymus arises as an outgrowth of third pharyngeal pouch. Immune system. Lymphatic system is a part of immune system. Lymphatic system has lymphatic vessels which drain interstitial fluid or lymph from peripheral tissues into the blood. Lymphatic system also has tissues and organs that contain lymphocytes and white blood cells. There are 2 to 3 types of lymphoid organs. One's primary, secondary, and tertiary. We'll be reading about tertiary and primary and secondary, right? So primary lymphoid organs are thymus and bone marrow. So this is your thymus right here, right? And this is the bone marrow, and we are going to read about it, okay? So it's not just here. Secondary lymphoid organs are tonsils and lymph nodes. We have multiple lymph nodes all over our body. Spleen, mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue, MALT, right? So that is the spleen, right? And this is the mucosa associated with lymphoid tissue. What is lympha? Okay, so lympha actually comes from the Latin deity of fresh water, Latin goddess of fresh water, lympha. Lympha is usually clear, transparent, and milky fluid through lymphatic vessels. It appears milky due to the presence of absorbed fats. Lymph differs from blood because lymph does not contain red blood corpuscles. It doesn't have any RBC, and the protein content is lower. Okay, so what is the composition of lymph? What is it made of? It's made of water, the plasma proteins called serum albumin, serum globulin, and serum fibrinogen. Mineral salts are Na plus, K plus, CO2 plus, HCO3, and SO4. Organic substances, urea, creatinine, neutral fats, and glucose. WBCs are lymphocytes, right? So it has WBCs, it has plasma proteins, it has some mineral salts, it has some organic substance, it also has water because that's lympha, but it doesn't have any RBC. All right, so, but it appears milky because it absorbs fats. Function of lymphatic system. What does it do? Tissue drainage. Every day about 21 liters of plasma move from the blood capillaries into the interstitial spaces, right? In between tissue cells to form interstitial fluid. Most of the interstitial fluid gets reabsorbed into capillaries, but 3 to 4 liters of fluid are drained into lymphatic capillaries. Now this fluid is referred as lymph, okay? So the fluid that's drained into the capillaries, right? The fluid that is drained in the lymphatic capillaries is called as lymph. Transporting dietary fats and vitamins. Fats and lipid-soluble vitamins absorbed by lacteals and villi of GI tract, gastrointestinal tract, and transported to liver and adipose tissue. Right, so fats and lipid-soluble, transporting dietary fats and vitamins is also a function of lymphatic system. And it is carried by lacteals and villi of GI tract, transported to the liver and adipose tissue. Returns plasma proteins molecules to blood. 25 to 50% of plasma proteins leak out of capillaries each day. They cannot get back into the blood capillaries, right? Instead, lymphatic capillaries pick them up and return them to the blood, right? So they pick them up and they return them. It returns plasma protein molecules back to blood. Immunity. The lymphatic organs carry out production and maturation of lymphocytes, the white blood cells that are primarily responsible for immunity and defense mechanism. Lymphocytes are initially generated in the bone marrow. The lymphoid organs also contain other types of cells, such as stromal cells for support. Lymphoid tissue is also associated with mucosas, such as mucosa associated with lymphoid tissue, MALT, right? So immune defense is also a very important part of lymphatic organs, of lymphatic system. The lymphatic organs carry out production maturation of lymphocytes, the WBCs that are primarily responsible for immunity and defense mechanism. So which is going to be, this exactly why it's a part of immune system. Lymphocytes are initially generated in the bone marrow, and this is exactly why bone marrow is a primary organ, right? The lymphoid organs also contain other types of cells, such as stromal cells for support. Lymphoid tissue is also some mucosas. All right. Hematopoiesis, some WBCs, lymphocytes, monocytes are made in lymphatic tissue, not bone marrow. So lymphatic tissues is where WBCs are actually created. Alright, so flow of lymph, how does it flow in our body, right? We said it is like circulatory system, but it's not closed, it's open. Fluid from circulating blood leaks into tissues of the body by capillary action, carrying nutrients to the cells. Fluid bathes the tissues as interstitial fluid, collecting waste products, bacteria, and damaged cells, and then drains as lymph into the lymphatic capillaries and lymphatic vessels, right? This is exactly why they're called as lymph. These vessels carry the lymph throughout the body, passing through numerous lymph nodes, which filter out unwanted materials such as bacteria and damaged cells. Lymph then passes into much larger lymph vessels known as lymph ducts, right? So here's a flow and snapshot. Arteries, blood capillaries, plasma, interstitial spaces. From there it goes to lymphatic capillaries, and then it becomes lymph. That's when we call lymph. And then it goes to larger vessels, lymphatic ducts, and the same lymph goes to subclavian vein, and it goes back to the heart for the blood circulation. So lymphatic system is more like a drainage system. You know, it recycles and send it back, recycles, send it back. Whatever waste we have, then it gets excreted, right? But it by default it's more like a drainage system that keeps on circulating, and this is exactly why it's an open system. Lymph then passes into a much larger vessel known as lymph ducts, right? Lymph ducts, and then goes to subclavian, and then goes back to the body for blood circulation. Flow of lymph. The right lymphatic duct drains the right side of the region, and much larger left lymphatic duct, thoracic duct, drains the left side of the body. Ducts empty into subclavian veins, return to the blood circulation. Lymph is moved through the system by muscle contraction. So muscle contraction. This is exactly why when someone has thrombosis in any part and muscle contraction ends, is exactly why they start having swollen, their foot gets swollen, their legs get swollen, they have lymphedema, because the muscle contraction is not taking place, the blood circulation is not taking place, which means the lymph is not going back to the heart, you know. So that's why the lymph is moved through the system by muscle contractions. In some vertebrates, a lymph heart is present that pumps the lymph to the veins, yes. Primary lymphoid organs, thymus, bone marrow, fetal liver, and yolk sac are responsible for generating lymphocytes from immature progenitor cells in the absence of antigens. The thymus and the bone marrow constitute the primary lymphoid organs involved in production and early clonal selection of lymphocyte tissues. Bone marrow. So let's find out what it is. Bone marrow is responsible for both creation of T cells, T cell precursors, and the production and maturation of B cell, which are important cell types of the immune system. Right? So T cells and B cells are a very important side of the immune system. From the bone marrow, B cells immediately join the circulatory system and travel to the secondary lymphoid organs in search of pathogens. All right, so B cells immediately join the circulatory system. They go back in the circulatory system looking for search for pathogens. T cells, on the other hand, travel from bone marrow to the thymus, where they develop further and mature. So T cells travel from bone marrow to the thymus, where they can actually become, they become mature, and then join B cells in search of pathogens too. So they are not there yet, but then they go somewhere, become that, and then join B cells again. The other 95% of T cells begin a process of apoptosis, which is a form of programmed cell death. Alright, so let's find out what thymus is. The thymus is where the T lymphocytes mature and become immunocompetent. So if they're not competent, they become immunocompetent, so they can do the job very well, the job of immune defense. T cells mature from thymocytes, proliferate, and undergo a selection process in the thymic cortex before entering the medulla to interact with epithelial cells. Thymic cortex before entering the medulla to interact with epithelial cells. The thymus provides an inductive environment for the development of T cells from hematopoietic progenitor cells. So they're not ready for it, but it provides an environment where it can be ready, right? So in addition, thymic stromal cells allow for the selection of a functional and self-tolerant T cell repertoire. So thymic stromal cells that are already present in the thymus allow for selection of a functional and self-tolerant T cell repertoire. So they're not only training T cells to become immunocompetent, but they're also making the right selection. Which one's the perfect T cell to join the B cell, right? So this is the thymus. As you can see, this is a child and this is an adult. Thymus, that's a trachea. Those are lungs. That's a heart. Alright, so thymus, the middle area that you see is septum, the one that differentiates. This is cortex, that's a medulla, that's a lobule, and that's a capsule that encapsulates the thymus. Secondary lymphoid organs. The secondary lymphoid or peripheral organ, which includes lymph nodes and the spleen. A lot of many med students, they usually, search for answers. What does the spleen do? This, class will actually tell you what does the spleen do. Maintain mature, naive lymphocytes and initiate an adaptive immune response. The secondary lymphoid organs are the site of lymphocyte activation for antigens. Activation leads to clonal expansion and affinity maturation. Mature lymphocytes recirculate between the blood and the secondary lymphoid organs until they encounter their specific antigen, right? So they're actually circulating until they find the specific antigen, right? So that's the mature lymphocytes. Somewhere I feel secondary is more like a maturity based, right? So they're actually maintaining mature naive lymphocytes and initiate an adaptive immune response. So they are more functional in adaptive immune response. The spleen is a part of lymphatic and blood systems and plays a key role in the immune system. However, it's possible to survive without a spleen because liver can take over many of its functions. Spleen is fist size organ in the upper left abdomen that has many important functions, including filtering blood. The spleen removes old or damaged red blood cells, as well as cellular waste and microorganisms, producing white blood cells and antibodies. The spleen produces WBC, also known as lymphocytes, and antibodies that help fight infection. Storing blood cells, spleen stores red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets, which are small cells that help form blood clots, right? Controlling blood cell levels. Okay, so spleen also helps in controlling blood cell levels. The spleen controls the levels of RBCs, white blood cells, and platelets. Maintaining fluid levels. Spleen helps maintain the body's fluid levels. Filtering blood, producing WBC and antibodies. Storing blood cells, so it's not only filtering for producing, but it's also storing, and it's also controlling and maintaining fluid levels. Okay, so spleen more or less like more or less like a filtration system where they're actually filtering blood. They're also producing, they're also storing, and they're also controlling, and they're also maintaining it. So spleen has very important functions. I know, it is being said that your liver can do most of the jobs of the spleen, but trust me, spleen is very important, only because there will be some infections that liver cannot find, but the spleen can. Storing blood cells, producing WBC antibodies, controlling blood cell levels. If you don't have a spleen, then that will be an overload on liver, and that's not going to help the body. Okay. Spleen is oval and is single largest organ of lymphatic system in the body. It measures about 12 centimeters in length. It is found in the left upper corner of abdominal cavity in between stomach and diaphragm. The spleen consists of two different kinds of tissue called white pulp, right? So this is the white pulp right here, and the red pulp, right? So you can look at it as this is the white pulp and this is the red pulp. The white pulp is made of lymphatic tissue, mostly lymphocytes. Red pulp consists of venous sinuses and splenic cords. Splenic cords consist of RBC, macrophages, B and T lymphocytes, plasma cells, and granulocytes. The blood is supplied through splenic artery, and venous drainage is through splenic veins. So this is the blood supply. That's the stomach, left upper abdomen. So, and as you can see here is red pulp, germinal center. This is the germinal center. Vascular sinusoids, all right, and this is the marginal zone. This is a primary follicle. This is all white pulp. Trabecula, this is capsule, right? This is the artery, this is vein for venous drainage, and that's the splenic artery, splenic vein. Lymph nodes. So what are lymph nodes? Lymph nodes are a part of lymphatic system, a network of organs, vessels, and tissues that helps maintain fluid levels in the body and protects it from infection. There are hundreds of lymph nodes. Hundreds of lymph nodes throughout the body, often clustered in the neck, underarms, chest, abdomen, and groin area. Lymph nodes can swell or enlarge when they're filtering out bad cells. In response to an infection, injury, or cancer, this is called lymphadenopathy. Swollen lymph nodes in the neck along with the ear pain and fever could indicate an ear infection or a cold, right? Okay, so this is medulla. These are the blood vessels. That is outgoing efferent lymphatic, right? That is the cortex. That is incoming afferent lymphatics, right? Follicle B cell zone. This is the follicular B cell zone. This is paracortex T cell zone, and that's the antigen APCs. Blood endothelial cell. This is a blood endothelial cell. High endothelial venule HEV. Now that is a naive lymphocyte. All right. So this is the structure of a lymph node. That is a subscapular sinus. This particular area is cortex, and this is medulla. This is paracortex, you know, cortex, but paracortex. Okay, this is incoming efferent, and this is efferent, so that's outgoing, and that's incoming. This is for antigen. Functions of lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are small bean-shaped tissues that perform many functions, including filtering. Lymph nodes filter lymph from foreign materials like bacteria, virus, and tumor cells. That's why we have efferent and afferent, right? Producing immune cells, lymph nodes produce B and T lymphocytes, which help the body fight infection and diseases. Draining excess fluid. Lymph nodes drain excess tissue fluid and leaked plasma proteins from the body. All right, so they drain out. So whatever that leaks into the interstitial, it gets leaked out. Monitoring blood composition. Lymph nodes monitor the composition of lymphatic fluid and blood. So they actually monitor the composition. Engulfing pathogens. Lymph nodes engulf pathogens and eradicate infections. So lymph nodes have a very important function, right? They're also responsible for filtering lymph fluid for foreign materials like bacteria, virus, and tumor cells. They also produce immune cells. Lymph nodes produce B and T lymphocytes. They also drain excess fluids. There's an excess fluid, it gets drained out. Monitor blood composition. So they also monitor blood composition. Lymph nodes monitor the composition of lymphatic fluid and blood. They also engulf pathogens. All right, so engulf pathogens and eradicate infection. What are tertiary lymphoid organs? So TLOs are clusters of immune cells that form in non-lymphoid tissues in response to chronic inflammation. TLOs are like secondary lymphoid organs such as spleen, lymph nodes, and Peyer's patches in their cellular composition and organization. They can range from clusters of BT to more organized structures with lymphatic vessel, germinal center, right? We just saw a germinal center, and high endothelial venules. We just saw an HEV. TLOs can generate robust immune response at sites of tissue injury, right? TLOs can form a response to several conditions, autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, systemic lupus erythematosus, microbial infections, cancer, aging, organ damage, and transplantation. Lymphatic vessels. What are lymphatic vessels? Lymphatic vessels, also known as lymph vessels, are thin tubes that collect lymph, a clear fluid from the body's tissue, and return it back to the bloodstream. They are part of lymphatic system, which is a network of tissues and organs that help protect the body from infection and disease. They vary in size but are typically larger than blood capillaries and smaller than most veins. So they vary in size but are typically larger than blood capillaries. And they branch throughout the body like blood vessels. The smallest lymphatic vessels are called lymphatic capillaries, which connect to large tubes that lead to main ducts in the upper chest. Okay? Functions of lymphatic vessels. They carry waste products, germs, and damaged cells away from the body's tissue. Valves. They contain one-way valves to keep lymph moving in the right direction. Movement. The pulsing of nearby arteries and squeezing of nearby muscles help fluid move through lymphatic vessels. Alright, so movement is also a very important part. Valves are a very important part. They contain one-way valves to keep lymph moving in the right direction. The two main ducts in the upper chest are the right lymphatic duct and thoracic duct. Thoracic duct is the left thoracic duct. Okay? Lymph from these ducts empties into subclavian veins. So remember that it is a one-way valve to keep lymph moving in the right direction. They carry waste products, germs, damaged cells away from the body's tissues. Movement is also a very important part. Pulsing of nearby arteries and squeezing of nearby muscles help fluid move through lymphatic vessels, right? And there are two main ducts. Upper chest has right and left thoracic duct. Okay, so left lymphatic duct is called as thoracic duct. Okay, lymph trunks and ducts. Lymph passes from lymphatic capillaries into lymphatic vessels and through lymph nodes. Lymphatic vessel exiting lymph nodes pass lymph into another node, right? So it is more like a network from one node to another. The exiting lymphatic vessel unite to form lymph trunk, right? So we saw multiple lymph trunk around, all right? The principal trunks are lumbar, intestinal, bronchomediastinal, subclavian, and jugular trunk, right? So subclavian, lymphatic, left jugular, left subclavian trunk. We also have left lumbar trunk. We have right lumbar trunk. The principal trunks eventually pass their lymph into venous blood through two main channels. One is thoracic duct. This is the thoracic duct. So all these trunks, they actually reach the thoracic duct right here. And the right lymphatic duct. So right lymphatic duct, they also reach the right lymphatic right here. Okay, so left lymphatic duct, that is the thoracic duct. The left lymphatic duct is about 45 centimeter in length and begins as a cisterna chyli in front of second lumbar vertebrae. A thoracic duct is the main collecting duct of lymphatic system. It receives lymph from the left side of the head, neck, and chest, the upper left extremity, and entire body below the ribs. Left lymphatic duct, thoracic, drains the lymph into the left subclavian vein. So right here, so it drains into left subclavian vein. So that's the thoracic duct. So everything, all the venous drainage goes to this particular thoracic duct and then into the left subclavian vein. Okay. Right lymphatic duct. The right lymphatic duct is about 1.25 centimeter. This one particular here, and drains lymph from the upper side, right side of the body, from around here. The right lymphatic duct collects lymph from the right upper extremity, right side of the thorax, right lung, right side of the heart and liver. Right lymphatic duct opens into the right subclavian vein. So it collects all the venous drainage and goes into right subclavian vein right here. It goes into the heart and goes back for blood circulation. Okay. All right, so let's do a little bit of a clinical case study. What is lymphedema? Lymphedema is a swelling caused by accumulation of lymph, which may occur if the lymphatic system is damaged or has malformations, right? It's a swelling caused by accumulation of lymph, and it can be because, like I said, either you had a parasitic infection or you were wearing tight shoes. A lot of people don't really wear the right type of shoes, or you got hurt. It can be due to injury as well. Right? It usually affects limbs through the face, neck, abdomen. May also be impacted, yes. Most of the lymphedema cases that I have seen are usually hands or legs. In an extreme state called elephantiasis, the edema progresses to the extent that the skin becomes thick with an appearance like the skin on elephant limbs, right? It looks scaly, it looks very thick, it looks very dry, and most of the time the skin goes real dark, okay? It looks like a tree bark, to be honest with you. A trunk of a tree, like a large one. One foot will be very small, another one would be very large. Okay, it looks like a tree stump. Causes are known most cases, but sometimes there's a previous history of severe infection, usually caused by a parasitic disease such as lymphatic filariasis. Okay, so usually it's because of parasitic disease. However, we've also seen genetics playing a role in certain situation of elephantiasis. The parasites that cause lymphatic filariasis are roundworms called filarial nematodes, and they belong to the family of Filariodidia. All right. Wuchereria bancrofti responsible for over 90% of the cases. Brugia malayi causes most of the remaining cases. Brugia timori also causes the same disease. Okay. When a mosquito that has infective larvae in body bites human, the larvae is transmitted into the body, right? Mosquito bites you, the larvae gets transmitted. Filaria mature in human body. The adult filaria migrate to lymphatic vessels and give birth to thousands of microfilaria. Mosquito bites infected human body and takes in microfilaria, right? Microfilaria grow into infective larvae in mosquito's body and migrate to proboscis, all right? So there is actually a circle. So if the human's already infected, the mosquito bites infected human and then takes in microfilaria again, and then it goes into an infective larvae, and the circle keeps on repeating again and again. Snake bites, okay? So lymphedema can also be caused due to a toxic snake bite, right? If you're bitten by a snake on your foot, you should seek immediate medical attention. The severity of snake bite depends on the type of the snake, amount of venom injected, and a person's reaction, right? So it also depends what kind of snake it is. Is it, a black boa, or is it, a constrictor, or is it a rattlesnake, which is very common in Texas, Arizona. Boas are very common in Florida because many people nowadays like to keep exotic animals as pets. Florida has like many illegal snakes that have been bought, and at times people cannot take care of them, so they just release them, and that can cause snake bites. All right, I remember visiting my family in Florida, and every time I go out, I would see some form of snake. Okay, so snake bites are very common in Florida, Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma, Arizona, and different places, but mostly in southern. Pain, swelling, redness, or bruising around the bite. Those are the symptoms. Difficulty breathing, rapid heartbeat, dizziness, weakness, in severe case paralysis, or even death. Okay, so trust me, snake bites should not be taken lightly. Here are some first aid steps that you can take until you receive medical care. Remain calm and still to slow the spread of the venom, right? So if you move a lot, your muscle will contract, and chances are the venous drainage will take to your heart, and that will be pumped throughout your body, so that's not right. All right, remove any jewelry or watches that could cut into the skin, or it will go directly into different parts of the body too. Gently cover the bite with a clean dry cloth or bandage. If possible, have someone carry you, because exertion can increase venom absorption, right? Do not try to catch or kill the snake. Don't do that, because chances are it will bite a different part of your body, and there will be an extra interference into your lymphatic system that will be impacting your circulatory system, and you don't really have any chance. Try to remember the snake's color and shape, right? Because the type of the snake is very important. And take a picture if you can. All right, I'm not sure why they said take a picture if you can, because then you'll have to, I don't know. If I were you, I would just remember it, and you keep it in mind. Use your photographic memory. Apply ice or cold compress. Don't apply ice or cold compress. You should avoid cutting the bite or trying to remove the venom, right? A lot many people, they see movies and they're like, let me suck up the venom. Don't do that. I've seen some people do that. It's the craziest thing you can ever do. Try not to drink caffeine or alcohol, okay, because that would not only impair your judgment, but also make you jittery, and that will impact your, like I said, the venous drainage. Taking pain relieving medicines such as aspirin, ibuprofen, and naproxen sodium. Tying off the bite area with a tourniquet. Okay, so try not to do that. Try not to use any painkillers, because that can have a drug interactivity with the toxic already. Okay, so try not to do that. Let's not forget that a snake's venom is also used for medicinal purposes, and if there's an interaction between the two, it may worsen the condition. Okay, so try not to pop a pill when snake bites you. All right, so thank you for watching. I hope you like lymphatic system. I hope the clinical cases help you. I hope you have a certain understanding of what lymphatic system is about. You can go ahead and watch different videos on YouTube, or take notes from this particular one, and hopefully use it for your future clinical studies, okay, for your exams, for your studies. Okay, so like, comment, share, and subscribe to this particular PowerPoint. Bye.